Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC 316 Dvalishvili versus O'Malley 2. This episode is late, obviously, because it's late. I don't know what to tell you. Other than that, let's just go through the fights. This fight card, it was a really interesting fight card because there's many narratives. There's so many narratives to follow. We're going to go through a lot of them. And the one narrative that is very persistent throughout this entire fight card is probably the most annoying one, which is my new disdain for Jon Anik's selective commentary, and also how bad the judges were tonight. Because while no one cares and no one was robbed, we'll get to Pyfer versus Gastelum. While no one was really outright robbed, the real concern is that these judges continue to be so bad that eventually someone will just get robbed off of optics or crowd noise. And there's many times in this fight where the scorecards were just scored incorrectly because of just bad judging or the optics of the fight. Let's start off with the first fight of the night, and that's Mederos versus Choinski. That's a very interesting name. I had 30-27 on my scorecard. 30-27 for Mederos in the first round. Choinski had a takedown. It's a takedown, but it's like a standing. He took his back. He took Mederos' back, but he got outstruck by Mederos by about 6 strikes. He didn't really do anything when he was on Mederos' back. He didn't land any ground, but he was looking for a submission. Every time that he took Mederos' back in this fight, he was looking for submissions. He wasn't hitting Mederos. I don't understand how when you take someone's back standing, just start fucking punching. Sometimes I wish people watched back. Because, listen, there's many times the commentary can be counterproductive, overzealous, annoying, or in DC's case, just coaching certain fighters through certain positions. But I think what's really useful is if they went back and watched some of the commentary, fuck even the commentary. If you went back and just watched the fight, you would understand that, hey, you could win certain rounds if you were just active in certain positions. There's about a minute, maybe 45 seconds to a minute of Mederos' back being taken by Choinski, and what happens? He's looking for a submission. He doesn't have it. Not only does he get close to even getting it, he doesn't have it. He could be landing effective strikes. He could have landed a significant amount of strikes up there to equal up the total of strikes. He could have made this fight a lot closer in the first round, winning the first round. Instead, no. He just decides, let me just get on top of your back and try to look for a submission. It was really... It was low IQ fighting. It was real low IQ fighting. Second round, Choinski had a takedown again, but he got outstruck by Mederos, this time by about 22 plus strikes. He got dropped by Mederos 3 times with leg kicks. They were all kicks to the calf that the damage was building up, and so he got dropped 3 times by those leg kicks by Mederos. You then go to the third round. Choinski had a takedown again, but he got outstruck by Mederos by 11 strikes. The unique part about this round is that a funny thing about the scorecards is sometimes a fighter in the third round will be more aggressive. In no way does that mean they won the round. This is another theme that I've been saying, even in the last fight card. Fighters in the third round will be down 2 rounds and will be more intense. But because they're more intense does not mean they're winning. They're throwing more strikes, but most of the strikes are missing. They're throwing more strikes, but most of the strikes are hitting the guard. They're throwing more strikes, but none of them are landing on the target. They're throwing more strikes, but they're being outstruck. They're still being outstruck. So what you're telling me now is that we're going to now have rounds where you win the third round based off of aggression, but you're not landing anything significant. If that is if that exact round was scored in the first round or the second round, no one would score it that way. You wouldn't. You would just go, oh, he's going forward, but he's getting outstruck. Well, there's many. We'll go through that with many fights on this card. We go to the scorecards. I had a 30-27 for Mederos. There's nothing else you could argue for it. You go to the judges' scorecards, and it's just it's stupidness. Adrian Castro, his scorecard reflects mine. Anthony Tamburino, his scorecard reflects mine. And then Chris Lee, he gives the last round to Choinski. It's a really bad scorecard. It makes no sense to give the last round to Choinski. We go to the next honorable mention, and it's Salkilld versus Ashmouz. I had this 30-27. Again, we can do this again about how the optic of someone going forward and being aggressive means that they won, or means that they won the round, but they didn't. 30-27 for Salkilld. You go to that first round. It's close on strikes. It's pretty even on strikes on the feet, but Salkilld had 3 takedowns. He had 3 takedowns that round. 1,000% belongs to him. You go to the second round where Salkilld had 3 takedowns again, and he outstruck Ashmouz by about 12 strikes. Third round, Salkilld had a takedown, and he outstruck Ashmouz, this time by about 3 strikes. The real funny thing about this round is that the entire round is basically Ashmouz going forward. Like, desperately. He's desperately going forward. He's landing strikes efficiently, but he's not outstriking Ashmouz is going forward, but he's not outstriking Salkilld at all. In fact, he's still getting outstruck, and he gets taken down. The cute thing about this round, and it's very selective and it's annoying that I've caught on, is that Ashmouz will land 1 big strike or 2 big strikes. Many fighters will land 2 big strikes in the third round. And because there were 2 big strikes, that just deters them getting outstruck for the entire round. That just deters, that just eliminates that person getting outstruck. That just eliminates that person getting taken down. There are portions in this fight where Salkilld is like running out of breath, but who cares? He's still outstriking Ashmouz. Who gives a fuck if he's running out of breath? This isn't he's running out of breath because he got it's weird pageantry that I'm noticing that's getting very, very fucking annoying, and I'm a little sick of it. So again, I had a 30-27. You go to the judges' scorecards, and John Bilk or John Biley, I think I'm going to say John Bilk. John Bilk has a 30-27. He's the only one who scored it at 30-27. Adrian Castro and Anthony Tamburino, they have it 29-28. They give the last round to Ashmouz. Again, it's very stupid. It's pageantry scorecarding is what I'm going to call it. We'll go to the next honorable mention, and it's Williams versus Gustafsson. This fight was really cool to watch. Obviously, the crowd didn't like it based off of the amount of clinching, but this was like an Apex fight. Like, if this were in the Apex, it would be looked at a lot cooler and nicer, and obviously there'd be no boost because there's no one in the Apex. But the crowd, who cares about the crowd? The point is that this was a really cool fight from a clinch work, aggression standpoint. I had this 30-26 for Gustafsson, in that first round. If I can find, a 10-8 in the third round. In the first round, Gustafsson outstruck Williams by about 8+ strikes. Most of it was in the clinch. On the feet, it was just, I'm throwing wild strikes to hit the arm, the body, just so I can get close to Williams, and that's what he did. But in the clinch, he outstruck him by about 8+ strikes. In the second round, Gustafsson had 3 takedowns, and he outstruck Williams by about 20+ strikes. Again, most of those strikes were in the clinch, so there really is no need to jump a 10-8 there at all. And then the third round is where we get into 10-8. Once I was getting to the minute mark, I was like, oh, this is a 10-8. Third round, Gustafsson had 3 takedowns with ground and pound. Continuous ground and pound. He just didn't stop. He didn't stop moving. This is insane. He just didn't stop moving. Most fighters, if they were in the Apex, if they were on a numbered card, they're on top. They're throwing a little bit of ground and pound. They're resting. Throwing a little ground and pound, resting. His arms didn't stop fucking moving. They never stopped fucking moving. He had 3 takedowns with ground and pound, and he outstruck him on the feet by about 25+ strikes. Possible 10-8. I put the 10-8. You know what it is. We'll go to the next honorable mention, and that's Spivac. Oh, no. We go to the judges' scorecards here. Excuse me. Eric Colon, he had a 30-27 for Gustafsson. That's fine. I would have had a 10-8, but he didn't. Chrisley and Saul Diamante, their scorecards reflect the same. It's 30-26. Their scorecard reflects mine. Next honorable mention, it's Spivac versus Cortes-Acosta. This was like Cortes-Acosta's coming out moment because I've watched enough fights from him in the Apex, just him coming up now, and this is it's a really cool moment for Cortes because what I've always noticed is that when he gets taken down, he actually is very keen to get back up. And what's cool about this whole Cortes-Acosta thing isn't the, him being what's the word? Him being very flashy on the not flashy. Him being I can't find the word. Him being very confident when he's standing with people. It's the fact that we've seen his ascent into the rankings now, and it's a really cool thing to see, actually. We read the scorecards. I have it. Oh, I wrote this wrong. I had this 29-27. Last two rounds for Cortes-Acosta. First round for Spivac. I saw when they put these scorecards up, and I thought to myself, this is fucking nonsense. This is absolute nonsense. The commentary didn't help. The commentary were in their bag of, did you think you won? Did you boo? And I think the reason they asked that isn't because maybe they thought Spivac won, but because of how bad these scorecards were. They were absolutely stupid. So let's start with the first one. First round, Spivac barely outstrikes Cortes-Acosta, and he has a takedown. He outstrikes him by about 2 strikes. He's outstriking him for the majority of this fight, for this round, and then Cortes starts to come back a little bit on strikes, but Spivac outstrikes Cortes-Acosta, and he also lands the more damaging strikes. He also takes him down at one point. This round belongs to Spivac, and the reason why it wasn't scored for Spivac is because of pageantry. Is because of also how lazy Spivac got towards the end of the round. The optics, Spivac was up on strikes. The optics of Cortes towards the end of this round, just kind of landing a number of strikes on Spivac, was not helpful for the optics of the judges. It just wasn't. Spivac won this round, and yet the optics of him ending the round really nicely was not in the favor of Spivac. So even though it should have been scored for Spivac, the judges incorrectly scored the first round for Cortes. It was really very bad scorecard. We'll get to the judges' scorecards, but it's ridiculous. You go to the second round where Cortes-Acosta, he outstrikes Spivac by about 15 plus strikes. Okay, this was his round. This was his best round, actually. This was his best round and his biggest round. This was one of his best rounds. You go to the third round where Spivac had a takedown. He had a takedown, didn't do nothing with it, but he got outstruck by Cortes by about 15 plus strikes. Here's another goofy bit about this round. There's pageantry in the first round. The optics of Cortes-Acosta landing a certain amount of strikes towards the end. Then you have the optics of this third round where Cortes-Acosta is outstriking Spivac. He's outstriking Spivac. The only problem is he gets hit with a shot, and his movement is so theatrical that it looks as though he's getting hurt, when in actuality he's not really hurt. He's not. He's not really hurt. He lands some strikes on Spivac. He's outstriking Spivac pretty well, and Spivac is just taking these shots, throwing shots, but he's missing. It's just a bad-looking round, and the only good thing looking for Spivac is that Spivac is going forward, and that when he lands the occasional 2 strikes that make Cortes-Acosta spin like a fucking Beyblade, it just makes the round look goofy. And this is the problem with these judges looking at this, at just the optics of things. This is the same bullshit that happened in the Umar versus Dvalishvili fight, where the optics of that fight made certain rounds look kind of weird. And the same thing happened in this third round of Spivac versus Cortes-Acosta, where it should have been scored for Cortes-Acosta, but some judges decided not to. We're going to go to the judges' scorecards. John Blick, he gives the first 2 rounds to Cortes-Acosta, and the last round to Spivac. This is a shit scorecard. It's bad. His scorecard reflects Manuel Cuerdo, and then Anthony Tamburino. His scorecard is also garbage. He gives all three rounds to Cortes-Acosta. It's just a bad night for the judging. We go to the next honorable mention, and that's Silva versus Fan. This was a fun fight to watch. This was an absolute fun fight to watch. Same thing with Joshua Van. You've seen him now fight so many times, right? You saw him fight a few times on the in the Apex, and then definitely the UFC realized, oh, this is like the new version of Adrian Yanez, where basically he's got hands. He can take some strikes, minus him getting knocked out by Johnson. He can take some strikes, and he's well-rounded, and he's showing like improvement fight to fight. And you're seeing his ascent, and it's beautiful because, in a way, while he was fighting the 12th ranked guy, I believe, he should have been fighting way higher. He should be fighting Tim Elliott. He should be fighting guys much higher, or whoever's higher in the rankings, right? He deserves Albazi. He deserves the higher ranked guys, man. And they're slow rolling him, and that's good. Obviously, that's a good thing. But he deserves higher ranked guys, and I'm glad he's getting his just due. Back to the fight, though. First 2 rounds, it's a 10-9. It ends by TKO in the third round. All around goodness. In that first round, Van dropped, and he barely outstruck Silva. Silva was keeping it fairly close on strikes, but Van dropped, and he barely outstruck Silva by about 3 strikes. In the second round, Silva had a takedown, but that didn't matter. He got dropped twice. He got dropped twice by Van, and he got outstruck by about 25 plus strikes. So there you have it on that. You go to the judges' scorecards, and Adrian Castro, his scorecard reflects mine. Eric Colon, scorecard reflects mine. Saul Diamond, he was a 10-8 in the second round for Joshua Van. I'm not going to argue with it. He outstruck him by 25 plus strikes. He dropped him twice. Sure, 10-8. I wouldn't give it. I kind of have a thing with in MMA. If you get dropped 3 times, I think we can give you a 10-8. If you get dropped 3 times, if you get dropped twice, we've seen many fights where people get dropped twice and they don't get 10-8s. We don't need to do that. That's kind of, I feel like you're curving the scorecard a little bit. You're making a disgrace of the scorecard. And if we know anything about Saul Diamond, he's very keen on giving out 10-8s to certain things. So there we have it on that. We go to the next honorable mention, and it's Bautista versus Patchy Mix. This was really anticipated. Obviously, this fight card is late. I'm scoring this super, super late. If you know anything about the run-up to this, it's Patchy Mix fought in Bellator. He's a champion. He was a champion. Really nice record. I believe 20-1, something before this fight. Mario Bautista, hated by the UFC MMA community for just beating Jose Aldo. There was a fight that he got given incorrectly, in my opinion, but whatever. The point is that Patchy Mix, I saw an interview. I saw the pre-fight interviews where he's basically saying, like, yeah, he's looking past him. He's looking past Bautista, and that whole thing was, he was saying it so confidently that I was just like, damn, I didn't watch any of his build before. Maybe he's got some. Maybe he's about to piece up Patchy. Maybe he's about to piece up Bautista. Well, the fight starts, and it's basically, he doesn't win a round, despite a couple people we'll talk about, but he doesn't win a round. There's nothing impressive at all from Patchy Mix. This is like the second guy now that has come from a different organization and gotten essentially tuned up by UFC products. We're not going to count Dan Hook. We're not going to count Michael Chandler, and we're not going to count Michael Venom Page. We're going to count Patchy Mix as a guy who came and then got tuned up, and we're going to count the guy from Ryzen, who I can't remember, who fought Pantoja and also got tuned up. It's just interesting, and I don't want to. The excuse could be, oh, he never got out of first gear, but I've never seen him fight, and this was my first impression of him fighting, and he just got tuned up by Mario Bautista, who isn't bad. The point isn't that Mario Bautista is bad. The point is that Mario Bautista is kind of like a well-rounded okay fighter who's kind of on a little streak. Shouldn't be because of certain decisions, but whatever. But because of one decision, in my opinion. But that's just what it is. Let's start off with the fight here. I have this 30-27. You shouldn't have anything other than 30-27. We'll go through it. Bautista outstruck Mix by about 24 plus strikes in the first round. Okay, simple. Second round, Jon Anik wants you to believe that it's a lot closer. It's a lot closer this round. It's a lot closer. Patchy Mix is doing a lot of work. Every chance that Anik gets, he highlights Patchy Mix's strikes, even though most of them, thank you to DC, is blocked by the guard of Mario Bautista, and also that Bautista is outstriking him 2-1 in this round, regardless of the shit that Patchy Mix is fucking landing. But Anik wants you to know. Anik will only say the strikes that are landing for Patchy Mix. I don't know if if they're friends, if they have a pact or something. I don't know. Second round, Bautista outstrikes Mix by about 15 plus strikes. Jon Anik's commentary is disgusting in this round. And then even parts of the third round where the round starts and it's just like, oh, look at that knee from Patchy Mix. Stupidness. Absolute stupidness. It's Bautista outstriking Patchy Mix by about 20 plus strikes in that third round. It's a 30-27, and if it's anything else, you should be sent to the gulags. Adrian Castro has a 30-27 for Bautista. So does Eric Colon. It's only Saul Diamante that wants to be. It's only Saul Diamante that wants to somehow who only wants to somehow see the first two rounds for Bautista and the last round for Patchy Mix. How do you find the last round for Patchy Mix when he got outstruck by 20 plus strikes? Can someone explain that to me? Because I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing how the last round is a reflection of all three rounds. The second round, he outstrikes him more in the third round than he does in the second round, and he gives him the third round. Make it make sense? It doesn't make sense. Honorable mention to Saul Diamante. It's a fucking shit. It's ridiculousness. Then we go to a more cuter fight, which is actually a less cuter fight. It's Gastelum versus Pyfer. And everything's wrong in this fight. Everything's wrong in this fight. Even DC's analysis of Pyfer's loss to Hermansson, which was basically that Pyfer just wasn't. I don't know. He analyzed that loss in a way that just made zero sense. When the analysis should have been Pyfer gassed out. Pyfer won the first two rounds, and towards the end of the second, he was gassing the fuck out. And then guess what happened? Hermansson said, I'm going to just cardio you, and he won. And I don't want to say that was a reflection of this fight, because cardio wasn't an issue in this fight, surprisingly. I think it was just Gastelum's, resilience, experience. And in a way, Gastelum should have won this fight, but I can't fully put my hat on it. 29-28 for Gastelum on my scorecard. First round for Pyfer, second round and the third round for Gastelum. Second round has a close marker on it. You go to the first round. Pyfer outstruck and he dropped Gastelum twice. No need for a 10-8 here. Thank God they didn't do it. If they did it, I would have shot myself. Oh, actually, hold on. Let me look at the scorecards. Oh, shit. Hold on. Wait a second. Oh, no, they did. Of course. Oh, of course they did. Fuck it. Okay. They did. I'm going to shoot myself. So they did. Dropped him twice. It's an unnecessary 10-8. We'll get to the other scorecards. It's fucking stupid. He gets dropped twice, and he outstrikes Gastelum by 7 strikes. You go to the second round where Pyfer decides, the commentary probably analyzes this correctly. He's looking for the perfect shot to the point where his output decreases by 200. What the fuck was that? Anyways, his output decreases by about 400 fucking %. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is going on with Joe Pyfer? He's landing effectively, but the output is so little. He lands maybe 2 big strikes, and then he proceeds to just stop throwing strikes. That's really what this round is. And Gastelum starts to come back, and he edges him out on strikes barely. Really. Also, both of their strikes are missing a lot, but Gastelum is outstriking him. Gastelum's way more active, and Pyfer's barely throwing strikes. This round belongs and Pyfer's throwing less strikes. I don't know what I said. This round belongs to Gastelum, yet for some reason it's still close on strikes, and I had to put a close marker on it. And all three judges gave it to Joe Pyfer. Very beautiful somehow. You then go to the third round, and it's more judging malpractice. Third round, Gastelum again barely outstruck Pyfer, but it was very apparent who was winning this round. It was Gastelum. Gastelum was winning this round. Gastelum won this round. You can't make an argument for Pyfer. There was no stupid heavy strike. They both landed heavy strikes on each other in this third round. So you can't go power versus pyfer. You can't do all that bullshit. Both of them landed heavy strikes. And guess who was outstriking who? It was Gastelum outstriking Pyfer by about 3 strikes. Pyfer had to take them. He did absolutely nothing with it. In fact, once they got to the ground, they got back up almost immediately. Very ridiculous. Very, very ridiculous how this was scored. It should have been scored for Gastelum. Gastelum should have won, but I can't call it a robbery because of closeness or whatever. Chrisley, he gives the first 2 rounds to Pyfer. Last round to Gastelum. Can't argue with it. Saul D'Amato, I can't argue with. This is honorable mention. This is another bad scorecard by Saul D'Amato. 30-27 to Joe Pyfer. When I heard 30-27, I wanted to shoot myself. 30-27 to Joe Pyfer. He didn't give the last round to Gastelum. That's insane. Same thing with Eric Colon here. Eric Colon gives the first 2 rounds to Pyfer, last round to Gastelum. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, well, why aren't you complaining? It's the same thing as Chris Lee's. No. He gives the first round a 10-8. He squeezes the shit out of these scorecards by giving the first round a 10-8. No, you just fucked it. You fucked it, man. And it hurts, dude. It hurts to see that. It really hurts to see that. So, yeah. There you have it on that one. You go to the next honorable mention, and it's the fight we all knew what was going to happen. It's Harrison, Pena versus Harrison. This fight ends in the second round by submission by Kimura in the second round. In the first round, I had a 10-8. Obviously, it was a 10-9 minus the point deduction. It's a 10-8. You go to that first round. Harrison had to take down with a little bit of ground and pound for about 2+ minutes. There was nothing on the feet. They were just hitting each other's arms for the first half of that first round. And then while Pena was trying to get up from the takedown, she up-kicked her illegally, and the ref decided, fuck it, we're going to point you. I'm not mad at the point. I'm actually not mad at the point. So, there you have it on that. And now we get into the matchmaking of what this is. The UFC knew this was next. It was Harrison versus Nunes. I saw the rankings and I thought to myself, man, Chasson had a case to make if she just beat what's-her-face. Nope. If she just beat Vieira. No. You have Norma Dumont, who's, is just kind of there. So that's also a no. And basically, the winner, I'm assuming we're going to do a number 1 contenders match, which would be, it's either a number 1 contenders match because Dumont has to fight again, and I'm assuming she's either going to fight Chasson, not Pena, that makes no sense. She's either going to fight Chasson, Pennington, or Vieira, and the winner of whatever the fuck that is the new number 1 contender for the championship, because now we're going to get Harrison versus Nunes, and I'm leaning towards Nunes, just based off of the obvious. So there's that. You go to the next honorable mention, and it's O'Malley leaving. O'Malley now going back to fight for a title shot. O'Malley's now been sent back to the rankings. He's now on his Whitaker quest, right? When Whitaker lost to Adesanya, it took Whitaker a long ass time to get back to that rematch. This is now where O'Malley's going to get put back into. Dvalishvili versus O'Malley. Dvalishvili wins by 3rd round submission. First 2 rounds, it belongs to Dvalishvili. Again, the scorecards, one scorecard is stupid because, even when I talked about the first fight, in the first fight, it was very interesting, that first fight, how they scored it. They kept mentioning in commentary, on two judges' scorecards, they gave it to O'Malley. On two judges' scorecards, they were idiots. That fight was a 5-0 victory for Dvalishvili. And because of the crowd and certain moments, the same thing happened here, where the crowd, surprisingly, is influencing some of the scorecards. And it's just reckless. It's reckless and it's bad and it shouldn't fucking happen. Yeah, it's happening and I'm just so sad. The crowd will scream and that just means that O'Malley won a round of some sort. It's almost like when the crowd screams, the judges lose every sense of how the scorecards work, every sense of the judging criteria, all because of a little crowd action. And that's dangerous because one of these rounds is going to get stolen. You could argue that the Umar versus Dvalishvili fight was stolen because of just because of optics within the fight. Let's go through the fight real quick. Okay, first 2 rounds for Dvalishvili. In that first round, Dvalishvili had 2 takedowns and some ground and pound and outstruck O'Malley on the feet by about 5 strikes. That was pretty clear. You go to the second round, Dvalishvili outstruck O'Malley by about 8 strikes on the feet. O'Malley deterred all the takedowns. See, this is that optics thing again. Who gives a fuck how many takedowns he deterred? That doesn't mean he won the round. He deterred all his takedowns, yet he still got outstruck. He got outstruck on the feet. He got outstruck on the clinch. O'Malley landed a couple strong strikes, a couple strong shots from O'Malley. That doesn't mean he won the round, yet we go to the scorecards. Chris Lee and Saul Diamato, their scorecard reflects mine, but Eric Colon decides to give the second round to O'Malley. That's nonsense as well. So that's pretty much all to talk about here. That's the card for you. It's just a card filled with inconsistent scorecards, some cool finishes, right, by Holland. There was that nasty finish by Song Yoo. Ooh, nasty finish by Song. He landed on his fucking face, dude. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.